Brett Birdsong here for Objectively Cool, the YouTube channel where we do object lessons with science to teach godly principles. How cool is that? Say, today we've got something really neat. I like this. This is a bowl full of water, okay? And it looks like there's absolutely nothing in there. In fact, if you zoom in really close, you can see that there's nothing in this bowl full of water. Except when I reach in like this, and now you can see that there were things in there. There were marbles in that water. In fact, you still can't see them. Look at that. Why does that work? Oh, now look, if I look really close, I can just barely make out the fact that there's something in the water. But you have to really look close. It's a really cool gimmick. Now, this is something that we can use to teach all kinds of different lessons. And why does it work? Well, it works because these little Orbeez, or water babies, these are actually a polymer that soaks up like a million zillion times of its own weight in water. And so by the time they're completely full like this, and I can hardly even hold on to it. Oh, can't hold on to it. By the time they're completely full, they've got the same refractive index as water. Isn't that cool? And so when light waves travel through the water and they hit the Orbeez, they just keep going. Like if I had a pencil and I put this pencil into the water, you could see that the water kind of bends the pencil. The light waves of the water, anyway, it looks different, right? But when it hits the edge of the Orbeez, no difference. So it just keeps going right through and we can't see it. Now, isn't that cool? So what could you teach with that? Well, one of my principles here is talk to the kids about the science behind the demonstration. So we talk about light waves going all the way through and that the Orbeez have the same refractive index as the water. Well, we could use that to teach a couple of different principles. For instance, let's say the water is the world around us, okay? And if we as Christians are supposed to be different than the world, then we shouldn't have the same thing that the world's got inside of us, or else we're not different. We can't be seen, right? So we're kind of in stealth mode. So if we're watching the same movies or intaking the same stuff that the world is doing, if we're living just like everybody else, well, we can't be seen. Now, if you're trying to not let anybody know that you are a Christian, well, that's a pretty good way to do it. But if you're supposed to be light of the world and salt of the earth and letting people know who Jesus is, being full of the world isn't the answer, is it? So that's one way, one lesson that we could teach with this. We could go the opposite way, okay? We could say, well, let's say that the water is like being full of the Holy Ghost, and full of Jesus, right? And so if we're full of Jesus, we should be indistinguishable from Jesus, right? And so when people look at us, they're seeing Jesus. So that's how I do it. I take the science, I take the principles of the science demonstration, and then I apply it to spiritual principles. And just like Jesus taught in parables, I teach using science object lessons. And that is objectively cool. Okay, I want to trick some people. I want to see if we can trick them with our little demonstration here. Okay. All right, so what I want you to do is just tell me how many things you see in there.
None.
None.
Zero.
You're sure there's nothing in there?
Nothing in there.
Absolutely nothing
Absolutely nothing in there.
Sure there's nothing in there?
I'm positive, but there's some water.
There's some water. Okay, there's water.
There's
okay.
water.
Okay, so reach in there and tell me there's nothing in there.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Yeah, you can't see them.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
That is really cool. So what do you need to do this demonstration? Well, a bowl like this. This is a perfect bowl. This bowl cost me about $4 at Michael's. And this is called Water Gems. This is also at Michael's. This was $5. So the entire demonstration cost me $9. So you know what? I'm going to call that a 2 test tube demonstration. The reason I say that is that it's not something you probably have around the house. if you have it, if you can get all the materials you need around the house, I call that a one test tube demonstration. If you have to go anywhere and get something, that's at least a 2 test tube demonstration. And the whole thing is under $10, so you know this is a really easy thing to do. Now I bought these like a year ago, I think, and so they stay really well. You just put them back in there after each demonstration, and the kids love them. And you know what? If they want a couple, I always give them a couple, you know. The fact of the matter is that while they're in the water, they're absorbing more water. And so sometimes you can't get them all the way back into, into the jar. And then some of them break. But you're adding more water into the system here. And so these keep for a long time. So it's really a cheap demonstration to do, and you can save it and do it over and over, year after year. So that's one of the reasons I really like this. And you know what? It's okay to repeat a demonstration and make a different point with it, because the kids love to see the science again. And kids like repetition. Not that I would do it, you know, week after week, but every few months, twice a year or something, or they can see it again, they're still going to be impressed. And so that's really cool. So there's all you need. Little bowl full of water, some water babies or Orbeez, or these are under the Water Gems brand. Like I said, $4.99 at Michael's. I think it was $3.99 for the jar, and there you go. And you know what? That's objectively cool!